Most men are raised to believe that being nice will win her heart, that if you're soft enough, agreeable enough, supportive enough, she'll stay. You're told to listen more, talk less, avoid conflict, and give without condition. And while these traits sound noble on the surface, in the world of male-female dynamics, they often backfire. The truth is, being the nice guy doesn't make you magnetic, it makes you forgettable. It puts you in the category of safe, comfortable, reliable, but not desired. Women don't obsess over the man who's always available, who never disagrees, who says yes to everything she wants. They respect the man who can tell her no, who has a backbone, who makes her feel something deeper than comfort, something closer to awe, because women, whether they admit it or not, crave polarity. They want to feel your edge, your direction, your decisiveness. That doesn't happen when you're chasing approval or avoiding tension. That happens when you become the kind of man who refuses to shrink just to fit inside her emotional world. The nice guy bends himself around her mood swings. He walks on eggshells when she's distant. He over-explains, over-texts, not because he's weak, but because he was never taught that masculine value is not found in being liked. It's found in being respected. And respect isn't earned by saying yes. It's earned by holding the line. A woman doesn't fall in love with easy. She falls for energy. And the nice guy, though well-intentioned, has none. His identity is based on what she wants. His decisions are rooted in what she might think. He sacrifices authenticity for attachment. And over time, that dynamic becomes stale, predictable, emotionally dull. Because a woman can't surrender to a man who's always adjusting himself to avoid her rejection. Deep down, she wants to feel his power, not over her, but within himself. The kind of power that doesn't chase. The kind of power that walks away when his values are crossed. The man who captivates her is not the one who avoids discomfort. It's the one who leans into it. He's not reckless, but he's bold. He knows who he is, what he wants, and what he won't tolerate. He doesn't need her to feel like a man. And that independence, that emotional detachment from needing to be liked, that's what draws her in. Because now she's not leading the emotional tone. He is. And for the first time, she feels the pull of true masculine polarity. Can't fake this energy. You either have it or you don't. And if you don't, you have to build it. Not by reading lines off the internet or pretending to be alpha, but by finding your voice, facing rejection, and refusing to compromise your self-worth for temporary validation. The nice guy may get attention, but he rarely gets devotion. Because devotion isn't given to the man who bends, it's given to the man who stands. And until you become that man, she'll keep dreaming about someone else. Not because you weren't good to her, but because you weren't good for yourself. What sets the bad man apart isn't arrogance or aggression, it's certainty. He moves through life with a quiet intensity that doesn't beg for recognition. He doesn't seek attention, yet he commands it. He doesn't argue for respect, but he gets it. Because his energy doesn't adapt to the room, it shifts the room. Women are drawn to this presence, not because he performs, but because he remains rooted. He's not shaken by emotional storms. He doesn't get pulled into drama. He observes. He understands, and he acts, not reactively, but intentionally. That presence is rare. Most men try to create attraction by pleasing. They think being endlessly accommodating is the way to a woman's heart. But what actually stirs her, what captivates her soul, is a man who sets the tone. A man who knows when to lean in, when to pull back, and most importantly, when to walk away. His value isn't up for negotiation. His time isn't open to disrespect. He doesn't chase, he chooses. And that act alone shifts the entire dynamic. Because now, she's the one leaning. And she's the one wondering where she stands. She's the one trying to earn what he never handed out easily. The bad man doesn't resist emotion, he simply doesn't drown in it. He makes her feel without losing himself in the process. He brings tension, not chaos. He brings challenge, not conflict. And that kind of dynamic, the one where she has to rise to meet him, awakens something ancient in her. She may not understand it, but she feels it in her gut, in her chest, in the way she checks her phone, hoping he's thought of her, because that kind of man doesn't come often. And once he leaves, nothing else feels quite as alive. You don't become this kind of man by accident. You earn it. Through heartbreak, through loss, through every moment you stayed silent when you should have spoken. Through every time you chased a woman who didn't respect you. The bad man is not born. He is built. He's carved out of failure, betrayal, and moments of painful clarity. He knows what it feels like to be the man who gave too much, who bent too far, who tried too hard, and he never wants to be that man again. That's where his discipline comes from. That's where his edge was forged. He doesn't move from emotion. He moves from intent. That doesn't mean he's cold, it means he's controlled. He feels deeply, but he doesn't let those feelings make his decisions for him. He may love a woman fiercely, but he'll still walk away the second his values are violated. Because love is not enough without respect. And he respects himself. First, that's what gives him his power. That's what gives him his silence. That's why he's dangerous. Not because he threatens, but because he doesn't explain. He decides. Women are used to men who overshare, who try to prove their worth with words, but the bad man doesn't talk much. He listens, he watches, he reveals himself slowly, in layers. And that mystery, that sense of depth and direction, is what draws her in. She can't figure him out, and that's what keeps her trying. Not out of confusion, but fascination, because this man doesn't just live, he leads. And when he lets you into his world, it's not because he needs you there. It's because you've earned the right to be. And that makes all the difference. A great relationship isn't built on equality of emotion, it's built on balance of polarity, masculine and feminine. One leads, the other responds. And when a man loses that truth, when he softens to maintain harmony, the entire structure begins to crumble. Women don't truly want to lead. They may say they do, they may even try, but eventually the burden exhausts them. What they truly desire is a man who carries the weight, who makes decisions with clarity, who holds a steady frame even when they become emotional, confused, or reactive. The bad man doesn't fold to avoid conflict. He doesn't submit to moods, or manipulate for peace. He holds the line. He doesn't argue, he doesn't beg, he doesn't plead for understanding. He simply acts in alignment with his code. If she disrespects it, he leaves. If she mocks his values, he detaches. If she tries to rewrite his standards, he doesn't fight, he walks. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. That's what makes him untouchable. That's what makes him rare. She might call him toxic, too cold, emotionally unavailable. But deep down, she respects him more than any man who tried to be everything she asked for. Why? Because he stood firm. He didn't become her reflection, he remained her contrast. And contrast is what keeps attraction alive. It's what creates desire. She doesn't dream about the man who gave her everything. She dreams about the one who made her rise, the one who didn't soften to please her, the one who didn't break when tested. She may leave him, but he'll echo in her mind for years. Not because he was perfect, but because he was immovable. Because he had a spine in a world full of softness. And that's what made him unforgettable. Becoming this man is not something you stumble into, it's something you grow into through pain, clarity, and finally, a refusal to betray yourself ever again. Every time you silenced your truth to avoid upsetting her, every time you bent your values to stay in her good graces, every time you sacrificed your edge for emotional crumbs, you chipped away at your own power, and one day, you wake up and realize you were never loved for who you are. You were tolerated for who you became, to make her comfortable. That's when the old version of you dies. From those ashes rises something different, sharper, colder, more focused, not bitter, just awake. You no longer need to be liked. You no longer explain yourself to be understood. You no longer wait for her to choose you. Now, you choose, and that changes everything. Because now, your energy doesn't chase, it draws, it doesn't plead, it filters. You are no longer emotionally available to women who haven't earned it. You are no longer accessible to chaos. You are no longer addicted to potential. You're sovereign. And from that place, you attract differently. You don't need love, you choose it. You don't need validation, you validate yourself. And when the right woman shows up, you don't perform, you lead. You remain calm. You protect your frame, and if she can't rise to meet it, you let her go with peace in your chest. Not to punish her, but to preserve yourself. The truth is, most women never forget the man who refused to betray himself for them. He's the standard, not the phase. And if you become that man, you won't need to prove anything. She'll feel it, she'll respect it. And if she's ready, she'll follow it.